Hello and welcome back to the Parents at Work podcast. Jason and I are joining you today. It is actually January 1st as we are recording this, so Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year!
Yay! Happy New Year! In the last episode, we talked a lot about where exactly we went for the last 18 months and why we weren't recording the podcast and sort of the ups and downs of kid mental health crises and my cancer journey and all of those things. And at the end of the podcast, we said we would come back to you with a conversation around how exactly we got through that and what it was that helped us most to recover and be resilient during that time. So if you haven't listened to the last episode, I would go back and listen to that before today's because it will really put into context the conversation that we're about to have. Now, as a way to structure our conversation today, I had the idea that Jason and I should each come up with our list of the top 5 things that helped us during this 18-month period of chaos. And Jason, it feels a little to me like we're about to open a present or something because I haven't seen your list and you haven't seen my list. And so there's a little bit of suspense here in the household. And I'm very eager to know. I suspect we'll have at least some overlap on these lists, given that we are married and we went through this together. But it will be fun to figure out each other's top 5.
I am looking forward to this as well.
Awesome. So let's dig in. Jason, what was the number one thing that helped you to get through a period of intense challenge within our family?
Number one thing was mindset. Me, the mindset that I knew that if each day I tried the very best I could to address the things that were in front of me, and if I got through that particular day, then I could get to tomorrow. And the mindset that I've also gotten through hard things in the past, and that I could too meet whatever was happening in that particular day. And it was really the mindset of reminding myself that what I could actually control for was how I addressed my morning, how I addressed my community, myself, my family, the people I was interacting with. So my number one thing was my own mindset in being able to just take that one step every single day to take that chip, whatever wall I was trying to get through or over or around. So that's what really, that's my number one. For you, Lori.
Yes.
As you reflect, no doubt there's been a lot of reflection as we've gone through so much. What's number one on your list that got you through this?
Yeah. Before I answer, I just want to say the whole baby steps and what you can control reminds me a lot of what we had to do during COVID, especially during lockdown. And so I know everybody who's listening to this went through COVID and can probably draw on any number of lessons that they learned during that crisis. My number one, Jason, that I wrote down was that you and I were on the same page about what needed to happen. I recall a time when both of us were feeling really anxious about whether or not our kids should be on any medication for the mental health challenges that they were facing. And we also were very nervous about the idea of having our kid go to a residential program. And I think we both sat with that uncertainty and got more and more educated on things like the various medications and different psychiatrists and GeneSight, which helped us figure out, which drugs were more compatible with our kids' DNA. And we weren't in it alone, right? And I think I've talked to any number of families where the two parents are not on the same page about the strategy for addressing a problem or not just medication, but the approach to discipline with a child or punishment versus consequences and all sorts of things that I think are just infinitely harder when two people are not in agreement about what to do. So I'm most grateful. And with a cancer journey as well, it wasn't like, we had conflicting opinions about what I should do. I evaluated my options, said, hey, I'm going to get a double mastectomy and do deep flap reconstruction. And you were like, yes, you shall do, it wasn't any sort of point of contention. So I really appreciate that we're on the same page.
And when you talk about being on the same page, I think what's also great, even before all of these things happened, is that you and I have a comfort level with disagreement. Mm-hmm. You and I have a comfort level in sharing whatever is on our mind, and it's not this personal attack when we might have a disagreement. There's this safety and safe space where we can have these conversations where we may not agree, and we're on the same page on a lot of things, but there's times where we've not been on the same page. Mm-hmm. And what I've enjoyed about us, and I love that you're bringing that up, that we are on the same page on so many things, and but there are those moments where you and I can gently and calmly have a disagreement, and it's not an all-out brawl.
Yeah,
and that's something that I appreciate as you lean into, like, we're on the same page, which is very cool.
And maybe my number one shouldn't have been we're on the same page, but you and I have the capacity to get to the same page eventually when we are not, like, to find a middle ground and to find a way that we can both feel comfortable about a major decision, for example.
And what I also enjoy, and I love this conversation, because I think there's also the first reaction to what the other person says. And sometimes the first reaction might not be what the other person was trying to say, or what the intended receiver might have heard something differently than what the person wanted to say. Mm-hmm. And to be able to get over that first, communication hump of the fact that you think that your message has been passed, in reality it hasn't. And to kind of have that patience to, like, all right, what are we really talking about? What's behind? And already, my God, it was such a chaotic, we were exhausted for so long over these, the past, year or two, that even in those moments of crisis and discomfort, that we still had the patience with each other. All right, Lori, what are you really trying to say here? What are we really trying to solve? We didn't
always sound patient with each other, just for the record, because we're humans. But yes, we ultimately back down from intense emotions and we're able to listen to each other.
Yes. Yeah. So, and we even, if we were short with one another, we apologized for that.
Yes.
And gave grace to the other person. Okay, that didn't come out right.
I'm cranky. I'm tired. This is really hard. Yes. Yeah. All of that.
But at least, the underlying idea that we would get to the same page on something.
Yeah.
I love it. I love that you brought that up.
Number 2, Jason. What is your number 2?
My number 2 is the wonderful positive things of ADHD, which is on focus.
Overfocus. Overfocus. Overfocus got you through this, yes.
Overfocus got me through this because I think that whether it was in work or trying to resolve the myriad of people that were not understanding what needed to happen, winnowing down to, here is a set of things I need to concentrate on, and being comfortable with the fact that that's what I needed to focus on. And they might not have said yes today, but my overfocus said they might say yes tomorrow. And they might say yes the next day. And I love focusing on the fact that someone might say yes in a future moment in time. It may not be today. And I think that is one of the things I'd love to focus on, is hoping that the other person or organization would get to some level of agreement after.
Like, say, for example, an insurance company. I don't know. I love your mantra that you often say around. Okay, so I love it and hate it because it sometimes drives me bonkers. But that no just means not today. No just means not yet.
No, no is as an unabashed feminist. No means no in all things personal.
Yes.
When a woman says no,
thank you
absolutely.
for clarifying that. Yes.
No, yes. No means no, with consent and all those things. But when it comes to business, when it comes to work-related things, no is a moment in time. No means convince me. No means I don't understand. And so, no, and having a healthy focus on my relationship with no got me through each day, where someone might have a different perspective after I come back the 7th time, the 18th time, the 23rd time. And so my second one is focus, my dear Lori.
Yes.
How about you? What's your number 2?
My number 2 is a willingness to ask for help and to raise our hand and say, whoever can help with all the things, we need all the help we can get. And so we had people who came and took us out on walks, and took me in particular out on a lot of walks, because that was something that was critical to my mental health, to being able to see my friends. We did not cook our own food for like months on end, in part because various communities that we're a part of stepped up. Our synagogue, my book club, my Jewish moms group. I mean, all sorts of communities, our friends in the neighborhood said, how can I help? We let people come and help clean our house and fold laundry while I was down for the count after my cancer surgery. And I just have to tell a quick anecdote, which is we have neighbors who came over to help out with laundry and house cleanup and that sort of thing. And it was only because they came over and we had good catch-up conversations with them that one of our sons is in the school he's in, because that interaction led us to knowing about a school that we didn't even know existed. And so I think that ability to say, I can't do this alone. I really do need a lot of support. And not feeling bad about that really allowed us to get through a really long period of time.
Let me ask you something. Were you always comfortable in asking for help?
Well, I know, Jason Levin, I was not always comfortable in asking for help. I'm thinking about the early days.
Tell me more.
Thinking more about the early days of parenthood, for example, where I just had this idea that, like, I can do this. I got it myself. I don't need any help. I don't need extra hands on deck. Like, it's all good. I'm self-sufficient. And there are ways in which that self-sufficiency and drive have served me, for sure. And the overuse of that, and especially in a time when like leaning into community is way more important than being able to put a badge on your forehead that says I did it myself, I think is something I've grown into over the past 15 years of being a parent. We've been parents for 15 years, Jason. Like,
amazing.
How did that happen? I don't know.
Amazing. How did that happen? And
I don't know.
Kudos to you that you've been able to be comfortable with something that you weren't comfortable beforehand.
Yeah, it's practicing it
Yes.
over and over, and realizing that nothing bad happens. In fact, lots of good things happen when you ask for help. And then you can show up and help other people on the other side of things. Okay, number 3, Jason. What's number 3 on your list?
But before we leave asking for help, actually asking for help was my number 4.
Oh,
so it was
okay.
already on my list.
All right.
So I am in agreement.
Do you have anything you wanted to add to the asking for? Were you always comfortable asking for help?
This is something I feel very lucky my parents had modeled. When my dad lost his job during the recession of 1989, 1990, we needed help. And, my parents asked for it. And so I watched how they reached out to their communities for help, both in terms of meals or ideas or and those kinds of things. So that is something I feel lucky that asking for help is just not a sign of weakness. So, but yes, but I still think it's important that we're all in this together and that we're not alone, and that when we need help, it actually makes the other person feel better that we're asking them. We're giving others a gift, that we care enough that we ask. And there were even people afterwards, why didn't you ask me? And I said, well, all right, I didn't ask you for this, but there'll be other opportunities. So,
right.
Okay,
so as I suspected, there was an overlap on our list, at least.
Yes, there was an overlap on our list. Yep. Yes. But my number 3, and this was really around running the business, because, you and I are both entrepreneurs, and I've mentioned this framework to you before, but during this time of crisis where I really needed to winnow down all these things I could not do, there's a business school framework within strategy and marketing known as awareness, trial, and repurchase.
ATR.
ATR. And, Lori has heard me speak about this multiple times, where you essentially, what you're controlling for is an awareness to the current and potential clients within your consideration set. Trial activities are in and around them testing you out, and repurchases around customer loyalty. And so also every day, as I was thinking about my work, I was looking at the A, the T, and the R around current and prospective clients, on, with the little time that I did have, focusing in that area. And I think that's also something that got me through in the last year or two, is just making sure that with the time I did have, focus on the business, it was within that window, so that I knew I was using my best use of time based on proven MBA and business theory. So
awesome.
So Lori, what's the next one on your list that got you through all of this?
Yeah, so I think I should do my number 3 and number 4, since you've already done your number 4. Okay. My number 3 is also about the business, about my businesses. Okay. And it was having, prior to these crises happening, having put systems in place. I hired an operations person for a 1.5 month period to come in and help build some structure into the mindful return business. I had a team that I was relying on during the time that all these crises were happening. And I don't think that either my legal business or mindful return would still be alive if I hadn't had those people I could rely on, who I had already put into place prior to the crises happening. So this was sort of a lucky thing on my part, I guess, suppose, that I had reached a point where I recognized that it was so important to build structures in case I wasn't available at a certain time. And I mean, the people who I work with on mindful return stepped up willingly, with a lot of joy and enthusiasm, and said, however I can help, I will be there for you, and picked up calls and coaching and all sorts of things that I just wasn't able to do. So I think you said you had this framework that you were using for how to use your time. And for me, it was, I just had to step away so many different unexpected times of days and months and years when schools would call, or I'd have to travel to go see a kid in a treatment center and blah, blah, blah. And so having that stable team allowed for that chaos to happen and the businesses to keep running.
And you bringing in this operations consultant, what did it teach you about what your role in your businesses was after that exercise?
Yeah, I think it allowed me to embrace more fully the idea that I'm the CEO and that I don't have to be the executor of all tasks all the time. It also taught me that there are certain things that I still want to have influence over, and I can keep those without necessarily holding on to the day-to-day minutia. So it was a good awareness.
is a good awareness, regardless of crisis happening or not.
Yes. And then I'll go to number 4, since your number 4 matched my whatever number that was. Acupuncture and physical therapy for me were just huge saviors this past year and a half. So I am a long-standing needle phobe. I still don't watch when someone gives me a shot or has to take blood. I can cope with it now, but that was not always the case. One of our sons is very needle phobic, and I fear he got that from me. I definitely, at some point in my early teen years, ran screaming out of a pediatrician's office because I didn't want to get the shot. So the thought of me doing acupuncture is sort of weird to me because it's all about needles, right? But I had heard that it was very good for helping to calm the nervous system. And at a time when there was so much stress, so much unknown, so much crisis, I was willing to try anything. And so I have a wonderful, wonderful acupuncturist who is also just an amazing listener and an amazing healer. And she's really helped not only with scar recovery after my surgery and just general relaxation, but I remember sometime in the past year and a half, I did this bucket list thing of getting in a go-kart with you. You know, you're in a go-kart, Sawyer's in a go-kart, one of our kids is in a go-kart, I was in a go-kart, and some teenage boy ran into me and I got some massive neck whiplash, and the acupuncturist was able to help my neck. It was just sort of amazing. And then PT. I had heard that recovery from a double mastectomy and deep flap reconstruction can go better if you actually are diligent about doing the PT afterward. And I didn't want to be a year out and be all stiff and not be able to move. And so I spent a lot of time and energy over the past 6 months going down to Georgetown Hospital and doing PT first 3 days a week, then 2, then down to 1, and then eventually once a month. And now I can do yoga, and now I can be back with my trainer every week. And it's just something I'm really glad that I committed to because I feel so much better on the other side.
It sounds like you're really committed to a whole host of self-care. Is that something that you were always committed to, or was that a journey in coming into your own self-care? What has been your relationship with self-care when you think about it?
Yeah, I think self-care is a complicated and somewhat overmarketed and fraught word sometimes these days. Self-care for me has meant all different things over the years. It might mean taking time to sit down and write a poem, or it might mean going for a walk, or it might mean saying no to something, setting a boundary, asking for help. So I'd say my intentionality with how I am taking care of myself and my body has shifted over the years, particularly as we get older. And it's oh, right, these bodies need a lot more care than they did when we were in our 20s. I think I've always cared about self-care, but I either didn't have a name for it or didn't put as much priority on it. How about you, Jason? What do you think about self-care?
Well, I mean, it's funny that you're talking about your number 5 and, recognizing.
Well, that was number 4. Go on.
It was number 4.
Yeah.
Right. That was number 4. I mean, this leans into my number 5.
Okay, Jason, let's have it. What's your number 5?
No, but it's recognizing what you need. And I think my needs, which were part emotional, part physical. And so my number 5, and hearing you talk about, getting PT and getting acupuncture and asking for those things, because when you needed, for me, what I needed was really leaning into the myriad of therapists that we had created. So making sure I was getting time with my therapist, getting time with our parent coach, making sure that we were, Lori and I are big DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy people
which we were not 18 months ago.
We were not. We were not.
We were skeptics 18 months ago.
We were skeptics. When I first heard of DBT, I'm like, you are out of your mind. This is the solution. And I've been proven wrong. And that's okay. So I think on the emotional side, just recognizing that there's a lot. When you say get help, there are therapists for yourself, and there are therapists for your kids, and there are parent coaches that can help you when you have really difficult times, and being able to block time for that because of these challenging moments was essential. And then on the other side, at the beginning of the year, I switched gyms so that I could get my dad workout time with my friends Dave and Maurice. And I would see them on Wednesdays and Fridays. And I'm happy to say that, my app from the gym that I'm at is like I had 100 workouts at the gym,
Woohoo!
which was awesome. And then on top of that, our trainer, Sean, who we see remotely. Also, just having that consistency on the physical, on being able to move my body and go swimming, lift weights, do calisthenics, feel things, was a wonderful way to reset. And so when I think of my number 5, it's resetting emotionally with help, and then resetting physically with both my friends and my trainer, and being able to, be out there and say, oh, I still have this body. It doesn't work like it did 25 years ago, but it still works. So that's
Beautiful.
my number 5.
Yep. Gotta take care of our bodies.
Gotta take care. So how about you? Your number 5, Lori.
My number 5 was vulnerability and being willing to actually say what is going on in our lives. And I think about 2 things in particular. One, I went to a conference the week after I got the cancer diagnosis, and I wasn't at that point even sure what the next steps were or how we were going to handle it or what I was going to do. And I wasn't sure to whom I should say anything while I was at the conference, if anything, right? I wasn't in a mode of really like being in a position to talk about it. But I sat down at a lunch table, and the woman next to me just completely spontaneously talked about her breast cancer recovery journey. And I decided in that moment to be vulnerable and to say to her, hey, I just got a diagnosis. And into my inbox came a list of 50 questions to ask my surgeon, and a list of questions to ask my, my plastic surgeon and the breast surgeon, and like all these different resources that, had I not shared this information with the woman next to me, I would never have had that support. The other thing I was thinking about is it's a scary and hard thing to share information about your children's struggles with people. And I mean, we want to respect their privacy, and we need help. And if we hadn't shared with some members of our community what we were going through, we would never have gotten connected to other parents who had kids going through that same type of struggle, who took us on walks, who shared resources with us, who told us about different programs and whatnot. And so like that disclosure of information, I think, was just a lifeline. So there's a way to do it that's, not broadcasting it from the rooftops if you don't want to. On the other hand, with the cancer thing, I was like, screw it. I'm going to broadcast it from all the rooftops. Whoever needs to hear this stuff needs to hear it, And finally, one of our sons was in a program where they had a family workshop on a quarterly basis. And we would go to the family workshop, and being in a room with other parents who had kids going through the exact same thing and being vulnerable with those parents just really helped me feel not alone in all of this.
So as you use the word vulnerable, has your definition of the word vulnerable changed because you were vulnerable?
I don't know that my definition of the word changed, but my comfort with, or rather my appreciation for the depth of a relationship that you can grow with someone because you are vulnerable, or rather the importance of vulnerability to deep relationships, I think has shifted for me over time. Yeah. How about for you?
As you're talking, the number of people that said, wow, thank you for being vulnerable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Where I think the word that I'm thinking about that coincides with vulnerable is strength. that too often we need to it's perceived that you are strong, and you're strong because of X, Y, and Z, but because of your journey and you being very vocal in all the different ways on all the social media platforms around your cancer, that vulnerable and being vulnerable is actually a sign of strength. So,
I appreciate that.
It was watching you in the from the moment you got the diagnosis to to now. So many people have said to you or to me, how much they've appreciated that. And so I think there's a lot of strength in that. And I also think that because there's so much loneliness out there, that people can feel connected because going through a difficult time, and you can just share that.
Yeah.
So.
And I'm curious if you can just reflect for a moment before we wrap up here on maybe that experience with vulnerability in dad and male relationships, which I know is perhaps something you're good at and used to, but maybe isn't the norm.
No, it's not the norm.
For men.
And of course, we've talked about this. I've always been interested in the topic of male loneliness, which there's a lot of studies over the age of 45 that men over the age of 45 struggle to either maintain or build new friendships. Women don't have that problem. Lori, I love your book club and your Jewish women's group. And I'm like, awesome, out of the house. Go have fun with your communities. Go, 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 go. And I think for me, I think a lot about that, but I just see it in different ways where what do I do with my dad pack? And oftentimes it's just initiating, can we just do something? And so a lot of the studies show that women can just talk but men need to do something. And
then talk while doing it?
And talk while doing it. Right? So it's, going to the game is, you're at the game, but you're also talking while you're at the game. Where, and so one of my, dad friends walks his dog. So I would get up early and, walk with him while he walked his dog. And so identifying those opportunities and then acting on them. Let's get together. Yeah, and moving beyond the let's get together to what are you doing Sunday? What are you doing at this time? And recognizing that was important.
But then you've gone beyond okay, I've identified Sunday, I'm going to show up and I'm going to walk the dog, to, I think, not as publicly as like being all out on social media, but you've really, I think, been a leader in being willing to initiate the no, I'm actually not okay part of the conversation, and saying, actually, life kind of sucks right now. And we could talk about nothing for 45 minutes or an hour, but I don't really want to talk about nothing.
And what's been fun, what has been surprising is that whether it's my dad friends or my guy friends that don't have kids, they've been sharing with me either issues they've been having as being a dad or as just issues that they're having in their family. And they've been appreciative of me reaching out and just saying things are not okay.
Yeah.
And them also sharing that, things aren't okay with me either.
I think that's I was going to say a beautiful sort of way to bring closure to this episode is around just like how we got through it is saying we're not okay, like, is an ultimate like underlying theme. Yeah.
And it's okay to have these moments where like the whole world is crashing and you don't have to put on a smiley face and grin and bear it and like to say there's just a lot of things that aren't working right now. And you will be pleasantly surprised that people will show up for help, and they'll also share, you know what? things aren't all right that okay with me either right now.
Yeah. Awesome. So,
And
yes.
I feel blessed with the love of my life, Lori Mihalich-Levin, that we can share this together, have gone through this together, with the hope that 2026 will be more than or better than or just okay. I would acceptable in any of them.
Exactly. Awesome. And we'll continue to be here for each other, and we will continue to be here for you, oh listeners of the Parents at Work podcast, as this year evolves. Our hope and dream is to continue to show up with more episodes this year. Before we went on this big hiatus, we did an episode with a couple of moms who were general counsel of their organizations. Is that right, Jason? We did
that. Is correct.
Yes. And then we interviewed Mayor Bowser, which was really cool, just as a special episode. Now we're going to come back, and our next episode will be with dads who are general counsel. So stay tuned for that. We're excited to pick up the torch where we left it 18 months or almost 2 years ago. And just a reminder that, there's never too late to pick things back up again that you've dropped off, halfway through. So.
Amen.
Looking forward to being back with you again in a couple of weeks. Take care, and you've got this, working parents. See you soon.
See you soon.